When I was 7 years old, my sister was just 5 years old. We were playing on table of bank pen. I was 2 years older than my sister at that time. I am 2 years older than her now. But that, but that, the time it meant she had to do everything that I and wanted to play war. So we're open on top our bunk beds, and on one side on bunk bed, I had put out all of my GI soldier, and on other side were all my sister, really for gravity charge. There are different accounts of what actually happened that afternoon, but since my sister is not here with us today, let me tell you the true story, which is my sister's a little on closing side. Somehow, without any help or push from her, Amy disappeared off off the top of bunk bed and landed with this crash on floor. I nervously peered over the side of the bed to see what had blamed my fallen sister, and saw that she had landed painfully on her hands on all fours on the ground. I was nervous because my parents had charged me with making sure that my sister and I played as safely and as quietly as possible. And seeing as how I had accidentally broken Amy's arm just 1 week before, heroically pushing her out of the way of oncoming imaginary spinal bolt, for which I have yet to pay thanks. I was trying as hard as I could. She didn't even sing. I was trying hard to be on my best behavior, and I saw my sister's face, this wail of pain and suffering and surprise, starting to erupt from her mouth and wake my parents from the long winter nap for which they had studied. So I did the only thing my frantic 7 years old brain could think to do to effort this. And if you have children, you've seen you've seen this hundreds of times. I said, Amy, wait, don't cry. No human lands on all fours like that. Amy, I think this means you're an unicum. Now, other cheating because there was nothing she would want more that not to be Amy, the hard 5 years old little sister, but Amy, the special unicorn. Of course, this option was open to her brain. At no point to the sea. Sisters faced conflict, and her little brain attempted to devote to feeling the pain and suffering and surprise she just experienced, or contemplating her newfound identity as a unicorn. and a ladder instead of crying or increasing on our play. Instead of waking my parents with all negative consequences for me. A smile spread across her face, and she screamed back up on the bunk bed with all the grace of baby unicorn with one broken leg. What we stumbled across as this teenage, we had no idea at the time was going to be a vanguard and scientific revolution occurring 2 decades later in the way that we look at the human brain. We had stumbled across something called positive psychology. Within the reason I am here today, and the reason that I woke up every morning. When I when I started talking about this research outside academic with companies and the schools, the first thing they said to never do is to start with a graph. The first thing I want to do is start with a graph. This graph looks boring, but it is the reason I get excited and wake up every morning. And this descripting doesn't even mean anything. It's fact data. If I got this data studying you, I would be thrilled because there is a trend there, and that means that I can get published, which is all that really matters. There one weird red dot. There is one weirdo in room. I know who you are. I saw you earlier. I know that's no problem. That's no problem, as most of you know, because I can just delete that dot. I can I can delete that dot because that's clearly measuring error, and we know that's measurement error because it's messing up my data. So one the first thing we teach in economics, statistics, business, and psychology in how in statistically valid way do we eliminate how we eliminate these outliers so we can find the line of the best fit, which is fantastic. If how many adult average person should be taking two. But if I'm interested in your potential or for happiness or productivity or energy or creativity, we're, we're creating the cult of the average with science. If I asked a question like, how fast can a children learn how to read in classroom? Scientists change the answer to how fast does the average child learn how to read in that classroom, and we're tailor the class towards the average. If you fall below the average, then psychologists get thrilled because that means you're depressed or have disorder or hopefully both. We're hoping for both because if you come into therapy session with one problem. We want to make sure you leave knowing you have 10, so you keep coming back. You will go back into your shellhole if necessary, but eventually we want. But by normal is merely average, and positive psychology posits posits that is, if we study where we will remain merely average, then instead of deleting those positive, what I intentionally do is come into population like this one. One they say, why are some of you high above the curve in terms of intellectual, ethical, musical ability, creativity, religiosity, in the face of a challenge, sense of humor, whatever is it is. Instead of deleting you, what I want to do is study you, because maybe we can glean information, not just how to move people up the average, but move the entire average up in our companies and schools worldwide. The reason this graph is important to me is one is on the news. The majority of information is not positive. In fact, is negative. Most of it's about murder, corruption, diseases, natural disease, and very quickly my brain starts to think that's accurate ratio of negative to positive in the world. This creates the medical school syndrome. During the first year of medical training, so you read through of its all symptoms of diseases. Suddenly you realize you have all of them. I have a brother-in-law named Bobo, which is a whole other story. Bobo married Amy the unicorn. Bobo called me on the phone from Yale Medical School. From Yale Medical School, Bobo said, Sean, I have rubelsi, which even at Yale is extraordinarily rare. But I had no idea how to console poor Bobo, because he had just gotten over an entire week. We're fighting. It's not necessarily the reality, but the lens through which your brain views the world that shapes your reality. If if we can change the lens, not only can we change your scene, we can change everything, education and business outcome at the same time. I applied to Harvard on there. I didn't accept to get in, and my family had no money for college. When I got a military scholarship, 2 weeks later, they let me go. Something that wasn't even possibility became reality. I assumed everyone there would see it as privilege as well. For people, even in a classroom full of people smarter than you, I felt you'd be happy just to be in that classroom. But I found this while some people experience that. When I graduated after my 4 years, and then spent the next 8 years living in Tromsø with students, Harvard asked me to. I wasn't that guy. I was an officer to counsel students through different students. And in my research and in my teaching, I found that these students, no matter how happy with their original success or getting into school, 2 weeks later their brains were focused on privileges of being there, nor or their velocity or physics, but on competitions, the workload, the hardest stresses, complaints.